Hey everyone, welcome to this. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this 49th edition of ClariTea Chat. And today we have with us Yogesh Zope, CDO of Bharat Forge, that is Kalyani Group, a technology driven global leader in defense and EV. Hi, Yogesh. Welcome to this session.
Hi, hi
Cheers.
Jagadeesh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so Yogesh spent his childhood in the interior project sites of Maharashtra where his dad used to get posted. And courtesy that he and I share a common thing that he learned swimming in ponds and I learned it in the reverse. No trainers and no knowledge to the family. Plus, we both saw big cities only after 10th. Well, I'll let Yogesh talk about his journey in a bit, both from personal and professional angles. He'll be sharing his insights, case studies, and amazing goldmine of transformational experiences, full of inspiration and learnings. And thanks, Yogesh, for joining with us. Another sip.
Yes, thank you, Jagdish, and thank you all the viewers who are viewing this right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So our chat with Yogesh will cover case studies of change management, his unique amalgamation of IT and business that he drives in a very seamless manner. I mean, he has some awesome, insights about the team culture that he drives, which is on a growth mindset. There are some interesting insights from their IoT journey, and we'll discuss some challenges in AI adoption. So, I mean, what really stands out in this entire discussion is his philosophy, which is you don't have to follow up and prepare checklists if you are able to build the right culture of growth mindset. So, we'll hear from him as we go forward. Now, as always, we will end the chat with a rapid fire round to bring out the personal side of Yogesh and then his reverse question to me. Yogesh, before we start talking of serious things, let's get some energy going up. Please share the interesting incident of reverse interview right in the beginning of your career.
Oh, wow. As per as when I started my career, even I will say during engineering time, I started working with Vivekananda Kendra, and was planned. We had planned a long visit, almost for 20-25 days to Arunachal Pradesh. And then when I had my first interview in Alpha Level, the gentleman, Mr. Mahesh Gokhale, who was general manager, so I asked him if after a month, I think I had my interview in May, and then I told him then if I get a month long leave, and if it is allowed, then only I'll be able to join to Alpha Level. Unlike nowadays, it was practically unimaginable someone saying that in interview. and Mahesh sir gently asked me, "अरे boss, तू मेरा इंटरव्यू ले रहा है या मैं तेरा इंटरव्यू ले रहा हूँ?" But then he kindly agreed for that leave, and then I was one of the person who during probation only took a month long leave.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I mean, I must say that you had the guts to keep social service above your first job interview. That's awesome.
No, that was, I think those were passionate days, and I think entire friend circle was like that. We're thinking beyond self and had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, I mean, fast forward even today, um, we see, Yogesh doing a lot of work for the community, for the CIO community through CIO Club. So anyway, we'll get talking much more, Yogesh. I'm really looking forward to this rich session talking to you. But meanwhile, I can see a lot of comments coming from our users here who have joined the chat. We see CXOs, founders, IT managers, and technology industry folk in our audience, and everyone is here to learn what does it take to fill the gap uh, inherent in that statement that technology is necessary but not sufficient. So, what is that gap between necessary and sufficient? That's what we are all here to understand, and that is the one that drives business performance or success from technology initiatives. So, thank you everyone for joining us week after week and encouraging us with your interactions as well as questions. So, let us see quickly who all we already have here now. So, it's like, the early bird acknowledgement. So, we have Seshu Mangalapalli from Hyderabad. We have Amarinder, always an early bird.
Hey, Amrinder.
He's like, he's just like waiting in front of LinkedIn and, for the session to start. Hey, but thanks, Amrinder, for, your support and your involvement and your very, very insightful questions every week. And then right there, we have Mr. Vijay Sethi competing with him. So, it's like
Vijay
Amrinder
sir.
who comes first. Vijay, sir, thank you so much for your support and, always attending these clarity chats. And of course, being my first guest. And then we have Dr. Amrut Urkude. He's the CIO, head IT as well as head of corporate HR. So Vijay sir, you are leaving some trail behind the people who are handling both IT and HR. Um, then we have Jagadeesh Tambi from Bangalore. We have Hi Jagdish. We have Sandeep Rana. Thank you, Sandeep, for joining us. Uh, we have Abhishek Jain. Hey, Abhishek, you're talking to Amrinder here. Hello from us. We have Chirag Yadav. Hi, Chirag. Yeah, thanks for listening to us as much as it's so good for you to talk to us. We have Udit Pahwa. Hey, hi, Udit. Thanks for joining us. So all of you who have not yet made your presence felt here, please send us a comment with your name and the place that you're joining from in the comment box of YouTube and LinkedIn. And we are able to see it in our studio and bring it here the way we have brought all these comments. Okay. Okay. So let's get on with grilling of Yogesh Bhai, as he's usually called. Okay, so Yogesh bhai, let's begin with a quick recap of your childhood. Right up to your first job, and tell us some nice stories about bathing in the ponds and all that.
Hey, I honestly had very interesting childhood. Dad was in government service, and then I would say had opportunity to stay at extremes of Maharashtra, Adivasi area like Chandrapur, where there had no electricity, 2 hours of generator lights, and from there to this entire till 10th, I changed 6 schools. I had first semester in one school and second semester in second school 2 times, so practically a nomadic life. And but then still had lot of friends, still connected to lot of friends despite a very small span of school in respective villages, I would say. I won't say cities. And those were the schools where hardly 15 to 20 students used to be there in class, and that too from different places. And we normally used to travel for 10-15 miles or sometimes 10-15 kilometers to 30 kilometers to go to the school. And entire colony life, I would say, very small colonies, extremely in nature, and like all green around, and had fantastic childhood, I would say. No competition like city. And no one used to bother about studies and all those things. Yeah, but still, I think lucky to have excellent teachers who groom me, especially during 8 to 10th time frame, where sometimes it's very crucial, where you need to have very good teachers. You should have good teachers in school. So, but then had best of the experience, I would say.
Awesome, awesome. And what was it about swimming in the ponds?
Swimming in the ponds. Yeah, I mean, when we moved to one of the village, then of course all kids in colony used to go for swimming. So you don't have to tell in home many times. So you just have to go with them, and then as you shared your story, just some point of time I learned swimming, and then told at my home that yeah, I now started uh, swimming, and then had a very bad scolding that how can you enter into water without informing to the parents.
Yeah,
That's
no,
one
of
thing.
course.
Second interesting, I would say, in 10th, practically used to leave home morning, early morning, and then used to be in the dam area. So there were cave-like structure. So we used to study. I used to study there, and there was pond in front of it. So at least three times in pond, and then come back and study some sort of stupid or I think very good things I did, and then enjoyed thoroughly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I was sharing with you that my dad was in PWD, and we also had childhood in the small towns, and one of these towns called Bageshwar. We had two rivers, Saryu and Gomti, um, and there was a sangam, and there was like a big temple there. And in Saryu River, we used to go with my elder cousins, and we used to swim in those, like, high currents and all that. And yeah, I mean, that's for another day as to how I learned swimming. My tire was pulled beneath me, and I was like shouting at my brother who did that. And when I came to the nearest rock, everyone was saying, "Hey, why are you crying? You have learned swimming today. You made
Yeah,
it here in deep water without any help." Anyway, so interesting one, Yogesh bhai. And yeah, so let's move on. Please give us a quick overview of your career. I mean, the
before
college.
career, I would say that college life, because
Yeah,
naturally 11th I came into the city, and
yeah.
then started wondering with the city smart guys, and then started wondering how I'm going to survive in this complex world. Very because of Marathi medium, and then since stayed in villages. So first 4 months were like I initially thought that I will not survive in this environment. But then good part of earlier nomadic life is learn to adapt very quickly in the environment where you have been put. And I think
Yeah.
the entire journey of initial first to 10th helped to even adjust to this environment. Of course, after that, then did my engineering from PICT, and then after working with small time with Kendra, then joined Alpha Lawal as my first job, and that's where my professional career started, I would say.
And Kendra, what do
So
you mean? What you mean is the Vivekananda Kendra, right?
Initially, yeah, I moved to Vivekananda Kendra Karyalay when I was in third year. I stayed with them. There were life workers with. I personally, I feel so lucky to be part of that organization, and then whatever I am there today, I give a lot of contribution to my that phase in life. I would say that you get to meet people who are MTechs from IIT and given total life for this cause. And few of my friends also pursued that as a journey. Of course, Miss, I've been told to pursue this part of life, and then I started my first job in Alpha Laval.
And you told the you told the nicest story of how you got there, and asking for a leave after 1 month after joining. Yeah, but I think an interesting one there, Yogesh, by that you came from. these small town life, and then felt very uncertain, and I would say insecure, in the big city of Pune, and not knowing English so much and all of that. But yeah, I think the key word which I picked up from there is like adopt, right? So there's no option of giving up actually. So you just need to learn, you just need to adopt. I think that's what we do in this uncertain world with things changing so fast. You can't raise your hand, you just need to learn and adopt. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, let's talk
exactly.
about yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Maybe a line on that actually in adapt. Actually, me I'll say till 10th I had lot of opportunity to stay in nature, and I that actually changed the perspective totally.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
please carry on, Jagdish.
yeah. So no, there was another thing, which is very interesting in hindsight, that most people, they are like running after a lot of things, and once they get everything, then they start giving. And here, you start your career even before you complete your studies. You start giving by participating in social service as part of Vivekanand Kendra, and then suddenly you say, okay, no, no, I also need to do a job. Very interesting. Yeah, so let's talk about your work life then, getting into alpha level and then beyond.
So Alpha Level, I joined as a engineer systems. Of course, initially all started with hardware, I would say, and then entire network. So we had a DEC RDB, and then entire VAX VMS network, along with, of course, those days, if you remember, typical novel network connected on BNC cables, which later on moved to UTP, and then I started learning like RDB and then programming in Alpha Laval only after maybe 1.5 or 2 years time, and then started managing some of the uh, homegrown application for Alpha Laval. And at one point in time, I started feeling that I'm stagnant. It's a good company. Alpha Laval is one of the I'll say very good company, and I had my best career start, I would say, at Alpha Laval. And but then decided to move to Bharat Forge. So someone told me Bharat Forge is having SAP, and then you can make good career there. And then I thought, okay, we'll go to Bharat Forge. And then, of course, it was not tough during those days, I would say. So I applied, and then even in interview, it was like a just casual interview. And then actually I went on less salary when I went to Bharat Forge. And then even my boss was wondering why the hell you are coming to Bharat Forge. You are from PICT anyway. You have good job in MNC, and then why do you want to come to Bharat Forge? But then I thought that okay, this will be opportunity to learn different thing, and joined there. Bharat Forge again, I would say one of very early adopters of SAP in India. Means I would say 97 was we bought SAP in 96, which means there was no SAP India, there was no IBM India. So IBM hardware was sold by Tata's, and then SAP was sold by Siemens during those days. And then we started. Of course, when I joined the initial period of Bharat Forge, I would say first 3 years got settled down. Then again, there was Wax VMS there because SAP transition was not so simple. And then, especially Indian company like Bharat Forge, it was okay. We bought it, but then it was not easy journey. And so into around 2000 time frame, my boss left, and then Mr. Kalyani asked me whether I would be able to take responsibility of the function, and then I bluntly said yes without knowing where I am entering into. And same day means when his resignation was accepted, I had been made head ISG of the group, and then started my journey as IT manager or head IG, whatever you call. I won't call it CIO because I was too junior to be CIO. But then came a time where I would say the person who knows SAP screen was getting job in US. So most of our team left, and hardly I remember, including infrastructure team, only two people were there in team, including me. So started you can imagine. So एक सुबह 8 बजे से लेके रात को 10-11 बजे तक it was like a kirana mall shop. So someone would come with some requirement and you have to deliver. If it is hardware. If it is software, it is software. If it is a network. But you have to manage the show. And then actually that again give a lot of confidence, I would say. Because I had opportunity to touch base all systems and all aspect of systems during that tough time, I would say. And then continued journey, because since I started reporting Mr. Kalyani, entire perspective changed. Because if you see Bharat Forge and entire Kalyani group, when I joined it was 300 crore, and then it grew very fast, and multiple times actually, I would say it became $3 billion very fast. And I had opportunity to lead that transformation, because then IT system started changing accordingly to support the business. One point of time got opportunity to take further responsibility of managing group IT within India. And then again, those no one is going to give those opportunities. I started asking for that. Okay, I see there is a gap. Can I start taking responsibility of that? And then fortunately, since I was reporting to Mr. Kalyani, I got that free hand. Second thing I did good was around 2000 only. I decided to come out of Bharat Forge and then found this new company called Kalyani Infotech. That point of time, because again, managing. If you remember, I was telling you that around 2000 everyone left in Bharat Forge. So the challenge was again salary gap during those times in IT, typical IT companies or IT people, and then the traditional Bharat Forge company. Of course, today you don't have those kind of challenges because manufacturing companies are equally paying something similar to IT companies. But then during that time, that was one challenge. Second, culture wise, also, if you get some freedom on HR policies, that helps. So, fortunately, Mr. Kalyani gave that free hand to form that company also. And that's where the journey started, I would say.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So let me recap, some of the insights from what you just narrated. I think the first one is, you took a job at a lower salary because, because there was something new to learn. The SAP was a new technology coming in, and you actually, put your bets a little bit there, right? I think the second thing that I picked up was you're always the man to raise your hand when a new thing comes up. And when you were asked to take up the function, somebody left and you said, yeah, why not? Even though you were not ready for it, maybe.
Yeah.
The third thing I picked up, Yogesh, from there is, um, you know, um, I, when you see a gap in the organization, acting with a certain sense of ownership. When you see a gap out there, just calling it out and saying that, hey, I want to do it. I want to pick this up, right? And building a function that way, because you bring in the perspective that nobody else does, and if you see a gap, and it's your response, you take it as your responsibility to do. So that's, I would say, that's proactiveness. And going back, I think you showed that proactiveness right when you saw that there's a massive attrition. There's a big gap between a manufacturing company and a technology company in terms of our ability to pay the resources. And then you again raised your hand and said, why don't we form a technology company so that we can pay our people better? And in fact, that was as much I assumed that you formed a different company so that to separate out your payroll and to be able to take better care of the uh,
Yeah.
pampered technology folks. Yeah. So, and of course, technology has that potential and power to change and transform, and that's why technology people have been in demand. So, to be fair to that aspect. So, Yogesh, one favorite topic in Clarity chats and, in my discussions with various CIOs and various people in terms of driving the value out of technology has been the whole area of change management. Okay. So, what have been some of your change management challenges in your 2 decades of the CIO journey?
See, one thing in 2010, not 2010, I would say around 2008, I decided. I requested management that we should start consolidating the IT infra and then the other companies into one company. So that time it was Kalyani Infotech Solutions only, because prior to that it was Kalyani Net Ventures. Again, in Kalyani Net Ventures, we had different stories. Maybe sometime I would tell you. But then some work we did very good. We were able to sold one of the company to Town, and then could earn good money out of it. But then when we started this consolidation journey, of course, it was not only about Bharat Forge. We had a lot of group companies. As I remember, must be 11 or 12 or during those times. And then started to pull those respective IT teams into central IT team, and rationalizing the teams as well as rationalizing the IT infrastructure. Maybe 8 or 9 odd milling systems, so moving to single milling systems. And apart from SAP, I would say SAP consolidation started little later. Again, those were different companies, so consolidation was not going to happen on one instance or something like that. But then at least standardizing on SAP we started in little latter phase. During that time, pulling employees from different companies and making this change happen is very tricky, because no one want to lose the control. People feel unsafe to come to new entity. Second thing, the respective management also feel that, despite they know that these services would improve if they go to big brother like Bharat Forge in our case, but then at the same time they were worried whether they would be ignored or something like that. So there, I say one-to-one talk with everyone, including leadership team, including the IT team. That's what matters a lot. If you are sincere, people can see that sincerity and then appreciate that sincerity and support you. And that's how it all started.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, in change management, I would say that that was one thing. Second thing, quick wins. I mean, typically, if you follow this change management cycle, where you have to create urgency, you have to create the quick wins, you have to form that responsive culture to deliver the results. So we followed this typical eight-step change management. Typical, I think it's a part of quarter model, if I remember it rightly. And then build that as a formally very structured document we prepared and started following. It was, everyone initially felt that it is theoretical. Well, it was not consultant driven. We read something, we brainstorm, and then we developed our own model and then started deploying that. But it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, again, some interesting insights that just take some model, but don't adopt it blindly. Brainstorm, contextualize it for yourself, and then then bring it in action. Okay, create a playbook out of it and all that. I think the other thing is that yeah, I think there are some human elements which you can't do away with. One is of course engaging with people, talking to people, making the case of why, getting in front of them and explaining why we need to do it, creating an urgency around it, and then establishing the credibility in terms of the responsiveness, as you said, right? So no, I mean, again, my experience has been, Yogesh, that when we take these initiatives, things are not perfect, right? But I think what people also understand, that things are not perfect, but what they are looking for is that when they point out something, you know are they being heard?
Yeah.
Are you
Absolutely.
taking any improvement actions based on that? And if you do that, if you focus on that, then that establishes your credibility and seriousness, that this is not a fad. They're not doing it just for publicity, but they're doing it out of real intention. And I think that's a very important, I would say, indicator for me about your seriousness and your ability to manage change. Okay, so Yogesh, again, something I realized which you did not actually, is that when I was talking to you, I said, Yogesh, you have not at all talked about the any challenges with respect to business relationships, any kind of cribs about business IT ki nahi sunta ya IT business ki nahi samajhta and all that. I mean, there was absolutely no discussion around it. And then I kind of it flashed to me that Yogesh is not really a CIO or like an IT leader as such. He's like a true business leader, who is like very very seamless between IT and business. So tell us tell us some case studies of how you do it and how it happens. I mean, again, there are like many, almost 35 40 audience here, plus many more watching it later. How do you build that seamlessness and that what I call as a one team between IT and business? Tell us
Yes,
some examples.
that's very valid question, Jagdish bhai. Again, it will be bluff if I said everything is seamless. It's not. Because end of the day, we are a manufacturing company, Indian manufacturing company with its own legacy. But then I would say a lot of thing happened between last few years with respect to the expectations from digital. But then while even leadership team somewhere understood that it is nothing to do with only IT. And that's where I think we ourselves started changing a lot. Of course, it's a journey. Things like I will give a simple example. When we went for this when this industry 4.0 discussion started, obviously it started with IT first, but then we immediately realized only IT cannot do that, because end of the day it is about, you're calling it as fourth revolution, and unless everyone is involved, you will never able to do this. And the first workshop which we conducted at Fraunhofer, Germany, so I had opportunity to take entire leadership team, not only the Indian team, but then even global subsidiary CEO also were part of that workshop for 4 days. We had opportunity to visit many companies in Germany, and we had opportunity to brainstorm a lot with respect to how this is going to impact business, what is that we could do to make difference. Because end of the day, learning something from Germany and applying in Indian company is not the way. You have to adapt to again the typical India environment, and you have to customize it for a India environment. And that's where a lot of journey started. Second thing I would say, all the meetings IT is involved, including board meeting, including I had opportunity to attend all the board meetings, all the review meetings of manufacturing. Because otherwise, normally many times I feel that the CIOs were earlier kept away from this meeting, but then I don't think now that's the scenario. Most of the CIOs attend business meeting, and they have to attend, because end of the day it's not about IT, it's all about business. Third thing I would say, the staying long with one company sometimes helps, because then you have friends in the organization. Most of the HODs are your friends, so they are there. They know your journey, you know their journey. So if you need anything, they are there to help you, and then it doesn't remain only some technology deployment. Sometimes it's fun, because you take joint challenges, you deliver joint challenges. So that is only possible if you have those kind of relationships. At least that's my perspective. Everyone has its own way of working. I personally strongly believe in relationship and managing, making things happen on relationship basis.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think I know some really important takeaways there, that even when you're looking at, let's say, something like Industry 4.0 as a transformative technology. Yeah, I mean, when we talk of digital transformation, it's not digital transformation of IT; it's digital transformation of business. So it's a team game. In fact, I remember my discussion with I think about a year before I left Tata Motors. I had a discussion with CEO where he was like, he wanted to transform Tata Motors. And I said, listen, you and I can't do it alone. Do you think the rest of the team is ready? And we ended up doing exactly the same thing. Take the entire leadership team of 25 people out on a 2-day workshop. And he was very insistent that it cannot be in Mumbai. It has to be outside of Mumbai, so that people cannot take calls and their secretaries cannot disturb them. And I think that sort of kick started that holistic, I would say all inclusive revolution in that company. The other thing that you mentioned, which is very, very important, is like, business involving IT in all these discussions, and IT sometimes demanding that, that we got to be involved in. It's not that once you have planned out everything, then you come and inform us that, oh, without you we cannot do it. Many situations used to be like that, and I used to push back and say that, please involve us the moment you start discussing it, and because
Yeah.
that's where it happens. And I'm so happy to hear that, for years it has been happening like that. uh, with you. And your third important thing is like, building relationships. I think to an extent, I would agree and disagree with you. Agree in the sense that yes, a lot happens on relationships. You can actually cut down a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth approvals, and all of that. If there is a trust, a trusted relationship between multiple stakeholders, it really gets you there faster. And I think the thing that I sort of disagree with you is like, that it takes a long time to build relationships. Even though, I mean, I spent 23 years in Tata Motors, and of course, built those relationships, and and those helped. But I think it's about like, a relationship. The strength and resilience of a relationship comes out of like, how you deliver to each other. And if
Yeah.
you meet.
End of the day, it's all about trust. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how do you build trust? Mostly in a professional setup, it's about like, delivering to each other and meeting those commitments and all of that. Yeah. But great discussion. So Yogesh bhai, let me give you a little bit of a break, and start looking at some of our audience comments. There are a ton of them which have come here. So I'm just looking at, okay, where did I leave off? So here we have Miraj from Bangalore. We have Rajesh, and then we have hi Rajesh. We have Hari Krishna from Orissa. We have Sajid. Hi Sajid. I'm sure you're joining from Bangalore. And yes, Debashish liked my comment about weekend grilling. Thank you, Debashish, for mentioning that. I'll make it standard. We have Kishore Bhai joining. So I know why you joined us today. It's because of Yogesh and CIO Club.
Jagdish, just to mention, when I joined, Kishore was boss in Alpha Level. Huh?
Oh wow! Okay. So the relationship goes longer than CIO Club. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we have Shubham joining from Bot Hive, Bristol, and Innovative Solutions, Pune. Oh my God! It's like the electron, the wave theory that you can be here as well as there. So you're joining from Bristol as well as Pune. That's really interesting. Okay, so yeah, so Dr. Amrut says that your schooling is my hometown. Okay,
I know, Amrut.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, okay. We have Harish saying that good you have a privilege to work with Vivekanand Kendra. Looks like Harish, you have been involved there as well. I don't know whether you know him,
No,
Yogesh. Yeah.
no, I haven't. Yeah.
Okay. So we have some questions coming up. So Yogesh, let's make it a quick rapid fire question. So this is from Debashish, who says I have to drop early. Unfortunately, I have a humble question. What's beyond digital? Should transformation not take a short break?
See, end of the day, I personally don't feel when transformation can stop, because that's the change is the only way to be. So whether it is digital, whether it is mindset, whether it is anything, you have to transform the organization, and that's the evolution. I would say means that's the way humans have been evolved over the years, and I don't think we have choice for that. And then more than choice, it's fun also, I would say. Choice is a wrong word sometimes, but then it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, my take on that will be what's beyond digital. I think um, beyond digital is transformation. You can keep talking digital and technology, but transformation doesn't happen on technology. Transformation happens in the ways of working, in the way you
Correct.
conduct business, in the way you conduct your processes, in the way you improve your efficiency. So I think for once, yes, it should take a short break, and the discussion should be more about the benefits to the business, the benefits to people, improving their quality of life. And yes, to that end, it should take a short break, and let's focus on the benefits to the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Amrinder always asks a question. Okay. So he should get a first prize for asking questions. So his question to Yogesh, Amrinder, I'll figure out what that first prize is. But let's first focus on the question. You were among the early adopters of IoT. How did you find, evaluate, and narrow down the right IT partners? Please share key
Oh,
learnings.
that's very interesting actually, because when we started our this IoT journey, thought process was okay. We should get the partner and get it done. So of course, initial like any Indian company, cost was always a factor, and we actually started working with some of the startups. But then realized that the scale at which we are in terms of manufacturing aspect, we need to have standard platform, and then later on we moved to PTC ThinkWorks platform. Initially, I would say first POC we did with partner, but then realized that this is our job and no partner can directly change your working environment, because your operators, your engineers know your environment better, especially in case of IoT, I would say that. And that's where I got a permission to recruit 10 people, young team actually, freshers from college or maybe 2 years of experience, and then we decided to do it internally. And then it was not only IT team, especially when you talk about IoT, it is very less of IT and more of shop floor, and then the processes. Because end of the day, if you are putting sensor and that it is showing some information out of it, if it is not adding value to operators life or operate their functionality or to the product or to the organization, it is useless. And that's where I think we thought that bringing this change management culture on shop floor is must, and that's where we started doing that.
Okay. So Yogesh bhai, I mean, I also had a question with you on IoT, and in fact, we had made the announcement that we are going to pick your brains on IoT. So, tell us maybe like, go back and tell us about the starting point of your IoT journey and what were the outcomes you planned. And I think you did mention some of the learnings, but maybe, something else.
More interesting is how do you link that with business? Because as I told you initially, we visited Germany. I had an opportunity to visit many organization actually, because I was on one forum of Sweden and Finland, so I had opportunity to visit multiple manufacturing organization in those countries also, including Germany, Sweden, Finland. And then everyone talks about value. So initial target which was given to us in IoT project was zero unplanned downtime in hydraulic, pneumatics, and electronics. So now this is some very large target in manufacturing company. So everyone started laughing after we come back from the room, and everyone says yes in front of boss. So no one says no, and then everyone started wondering how the hell we are going to deliver. But then that's where Mr. Kalyani is great. He always gives impossible challenges and keep pushing to deliver those. And this again got aligned with end-to-end IoT journey. So end of the day, your IoT journey, you would put sensor. So where would you put sensor? So for that, we studied last 2 years downtime. What are the 20% problem causing 80% of downtime? And then what information, if available proactively, will able to reduce or eliminate that downtime? And that's how we started. Again, only digital is not going to solve this problem of downtime, because you need to have right processes, maintenance processes, preventive maintenance processes, as well as the knowledge of the operator has to be increased. For that also, what we did is we decided to conduct 6 weeks training program. No, forget about Indian. No global organization also has this kind of commitment. Right now, we are uh, training 2,500 employees on exhaustive industrial IoT course, which is 6 weeks course where they learn from basics of hydraulics to advanced of hydraulics, pneumatics, mechatronics, cobots, and then they even have to build one dashboard and push data into ThinkWorks platform. Of course, intention here is not to make them expert. Intention is to remove the fear of technology from the mind. Second is to they should unlearn the way they used to look to their machine, and they should look their machine in new way, because the operator or engineer on the machine is there for maybe he's handling that machine for 15 years, and then IT person cannot just go and tell them that you have to now change your way of working. They know it best, but then you have to enable them to look things differently. And that one thing I think we did very good, and I proudly said that whatever we invested in the initial industrial IoT platform, we recovered that money in first year itself. Unlike SAP or unlike any other technology,
Yeah.
IoT gave phenomenal benefit.
Yeah. No, but I think again, we I always say that technology is necessary, but not sufficient. And I think here is an example where you actually turn things on their head. Typically we say that, hey, IT guys, go learn domain, learn domain, learn domain. Okay, and here you took all the factory workers and started training them on, like, on all the concepts that go behind in IoT. And that's, I think, a very good and unique way of handling the entire initiative, that the people who are in charge of those machines put them in charge of the technology that's going to support those machines in terms of their downtimes and all that, right?
Jagdish, by lot of credit goes to Mr. Kalyani also, because investing in this kind of thing. Because just imagine everyone coming out for 6 weeks and going through this training program. I mean, right now, as I'm speaking, already 1800 engineers have gone through this training program.
Wow, that's
And even for leadership team, it is mandatory to go through 1 week training. Even our deputy managing director attended 1 week training program. I mean, that's a very serious commitment from the organization.
absolutely, absolutely. So I think lip service is not sufficient. Talking about it in public forum is not sufficient. It's actually important to devote and invest time in this. And 1,800 engineers having gone through it, the deputy managing director himself has gone through a 1 week training program. That's commitment, because I think after this, when people come out of it, they have to be converts. That's an amazing case study of transformation, Yogesh bhai. So it's not just about technology, it's about, like, investing your time and money and resources and management time into that. That's a phenomenal one. And I think no no wonder that you were able to recoup your investment within a year. So Yogesh, now let me quickly go to a related topic for a very short while, which is like AI. Because one of the logical, progressions of generating tons and tons of data from IoT is to basically start leveraging it, by doing some AI and ML on that. So what has been the opportunity and what have been the challenges to that?
I'd say AI again in discrete manufacturing is very different ball game. Many people may I keep a lot of push on this that we are not doing anything in AI or real use cases of AI. But personally, I feel that it has to be right problem statement which to solve the issue. Uh, Initially we started with some of, I mean, if you take example of Bharat Forge, where will you use AI? You will use AI basically either for predictive maintenance, or where you get the downtime alert much before it happens, or any quality problems. If something goes wrong in quality, if you could identify that earlier, then these are typical use cases. I'm talking purely from shop floor perspective. I'm not talking about finance side, or there of course you have many cases of AI, ML, and those things. But then in Bharat Forge, the forging press is like a three-storied large animal. You don't know what is happening inside it. I will give you a incidents where we had put sensors on that press, and then we knew exactly when that press is going to be fed. Because all patterns started predicting that it's going deteriorating, but then we had no clue what is happening, what is the part which is going to break down. And then one day main shaft of the press was broken, and of course then we had almost 8 weeks of downtime on that press. And
Fine.
then we had lot of push from management, why we could not predict using AI. But then, if you have to really build AI for this, you need phenomenal domain expertise. Means even to understand the patterns of vibration, combination of vibration, displacement, acoustic, and temperature, and then building a signature around it. And it's a very long-term commitment. There is no magic wand which will give you AI solution, because normally most of the software companies comes, oh, we have algorithms, and if you, what is algorithm end of the day? It is just correlating the data. Honestly, it's a common sense that it relates the data and then give output of out. But then someone has to train that model. In our case, good use cases were in computer vision, where we could wherever visual inspection happens, we could put cameras and then train the algorithms and eliminate the effort or double check the efforts, but still giving full confidence on AI is not there.
Yeah.
But eventually it will come. I would say that journey is started. We'll need to keep training those models, algorithms, and then someday we'll start getting the result out of it.
Yeah.
Jagdish, you have been interacting to so many organizations. What is your experience on these things, actually?
Yeah. No, I mean, connecting whatever you mentioned to your challenges, what I can clearly see is that, there are two parts of AI, right? One is basically, like training the model and, having sufficient data, right? But then having sufficient data also means that you should have certain events, which were preceded by that data.
Exactly, exactly.
So I think in your case, and I think I was talking to you about, like, let's say a forging company versus an automotive assembly plant, which multiple factories and very highly coordinated, just in time, just in sequence kind of supply chain and all of that. So I think in your case, what you have been able to do is basically using IoT and using all these, multiple sensor signatures to basically be able to predict the downtime and prevent the downtime. And I think that's where that's in a way I can say a big achievement for you, in terms of the business benefit. Now, I think going beyond that, I'm not really. I've been thinking about it since we talked. I don't really see how much
Yeah,
more you do there by bringing in AI. Well, like, so for example, in an automotive assembly kind of scenario, right? Let's say if you have a component shortage somewhere, or if you have, like, let's say, something happening in one particular factory because of a highly connected, supply chain with thousands of components moving in synchronization with each other, there could be possibilities of, like, bringing in the AI models to either retune your entire, let's say, production plan, for example. Again, it's a theoretical scenario. I'm not sure whether it is done somewhere or not. But also, but also to, like, bring in a certain amount of intelligence in the system to reduce the disruption, because it's a very piece by piece moving supply chain, which is not the case in case of a forging plant. When
that's right.
you have to do batch processing, right? You can't do a piece by piece processing just because the setup times are large. So I think the good insight that I get from our discussion, Yogesh bhai, is that yes, um, underneath of AI is statistics, right? And statistics needs data. So you need to have, like, a large enough data points, as well as, certain amount of correlations between data points and certain events, to be able to basically do these models, which may not always be a case, or may not always be possible, feasible in certain industries or business scenarios. Plus, the second thing is that, we have to be able to visualize a business scenario where a human, or let's say a simple system, cannot, do this part, which, let us say, an AI algorithm can do, or an AI prediction mechanism can do. So yeah, I think there is still quite a bit of, despite all the stories around AI, there's still a, like, varied kind of use cases possible, and that's like the only thing I can add to that discussion. Okay, so
Why?
let's move to
one sec.
Yeah,
While I say about AI not means much applicable in our environment, or we are not able to do much. We did some fantastic job in defense. Are we investing into AI? We are investing into AI big time. We have tied up with two startups, invested into startups. We bought NVIDIA very high-end supercomputer for AI, but those are very particular business cases for defense.
yeah. No, I got your point, but I think it is not an area that you can discount. You have to
You
invest
cannot.
in it. You have to keep connected with it. You have to keep connected with the innovation in terms of your engagements with the startups. And it's like the more number of experiments you can run, the more is the chances of finding a big success somewhere, right?
That's right.
So, Yogesh bhai, we are just about like 5 minutes away from from 6 o'clock. So, as usual, these are very intense discussions, lots of audience questions. So we tend to go a little bit over time. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay. 100% okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think I have a couple of questions, and I do see some audience questions as well. So let's move on to some other, I would say, philosophical areas. You talked about basically running your entire team with a growth mindset. You've seen very low attrition, which is amazing in today's world. And I think you gave us some really nice, I would say, examples, which basically say that there's a very different way you manage your team. So tell us about how you build and manage your team.
Oh, that's interesting. See, personally, my philosophy of team is I'm, as I had told you earlier also, I'm not a person who do the checklist and then keep following with team. I can't do that because each person has its own way of managing. I am not that kind of person. So I personally believe that team has to be self motivated and team has to understand their aspect or their role in the organization and why do they exist in the organization, what is their purpose. So aligning their work with their purpose and pushing them to do that, and more than following up, interacting with them to understand their problem, to solve their problem in terms of the support system. That's what I always believed. Second thing, before self comes team, that approach always has helped me, and people do see that sincerity and then that approach. So from my perspective, what happens is, as I was telling you, the last infrastructure team person left us was almost 13 or 14 years back.
Yeah,
And then we grew significantly after that, if you ask me. And then it's not that people are not skilled and that's why they are staying in the team. Practically, they are multi-skilled and they are very small team, but then managing entire Kalyani group level setup. But then they stay. And I have that confidence that whenever someone leaves, we have very open discussion because infra team may not leave, but then at the same time, other teams will keep leaving. Like IoT team, I am sure that I can't hold them back because world is open for them, and then the kind of salary they are getting are much fascinating that what we will anyway able to provide. There again, the trust between the employees. Most of the time, person comes to me and tells me that, sir, I'm going to look for a job now. Please take this as a notice. Maybe 3 months, 4 months. Whenever I find the job, I will now leave away. I will honor entire 3 months notice, and I will go. And that's what matters actually, because then you are well prepared, and then that trust. Why they come is only due to the trust. Many things we could do because Bharat Forge, again, we never had 6 days week. I could push, fight with management and get 5 days week for the team since last year. Now Bharat Forge also means since this month we also as a manufacturing also moved to 5 days week. So everything is changing in the organization, which is helping to have very good culture. And people stay for the culture. If the culture is not good, culture is not of growth, and normally we say traditional manufacturing companies have always the culture of survival, And if you can convert that into growth mindset, everything changes actually.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I mean, you are I mean, this is like I can see the classical, leadership being practiced here. One is that not micromanaging, not running, controls and checklists, but acknowledging that everyone has a style of working, everyone has a certain way of getting things done, and you just trust them. I think that trust is a very big and very important factor, and it's mutual because when the employee comes to you and says that I'm going to start looking for a job, he's in a way saying that, boss, I don't want to disrupt things, please start identifying a backup. So I remember there was one time when I did the same to my bosses, and I was trying to go for an MBA, and I was like sort of a single point of failure there. I was the zonal service manager, and I told my bosses that, boss, can we get another GET here? Okay. And they're like, why you're there? I'm like, I had to tell them that, what, I might be going for an MBA. I don't want disruption to be there. And that was really appreciated by them. Okay. And they then fought for me and my promotion and all of that. And I think I'm here today for, for all our bosses, for all my bosses, the way they did to me. And I think one factor was that I was very open and transparent, and I trusted them. Of course, they later on fired me because they had to fight much more to get me my promotion, because when they also told their bosses that Jagdish may be looking out, and they're like, then why do you want to promote him? And they were like, you know what, if we don't promote him, then he might anyway leave, but if we promote him, he might stay. And actually I stayed because they promoted me. But I think the other thing that I really liked about what you mentioned is like the whole survival mindset versus growth mindset. And survival mindset basically brings a lot of, I would say, negative, protective, insecure kind of practices and mindsets. But growth mindset is like everyone is like looking out to do more. It's more trust based positive environment, and it's really good to see someone who's really practicing that. And of course, as you mentioned, that it's also about the company culture and all of that. And you're saying that it is all like people are staying and all of that, even while you're upgrading, multi-skilling people, and that's what really makes it an awesome and living proof that some of these theories really work. So, Yogesh, now maybe coming to one of your something personal about you. I think you understand the need for continuously upgrading yourself in this VUCA world. That what is that, volatility, uncertainty, uh, okay,
Complexity and answer.
complexity, and what is that?
Ambiguity. Okay.
Yeah, ambiguity. Okay. So,
Ambiguity.
tell us about your commitment to education.
That one thing, Jagdish bhai, I did very good, I would say. Consistently, I put some challenges in front of me and continuously upgrading self. I'll say big commitment started first with the post graduation with Warwick. It was very tough course. First thing, it was manufacturing, nothing to do with IT at all. So it was a hardcore engineering business management course, and commitment was for 3 years. And that too means just like our industrial IoT thing, I have to be 8 weeks out of my office and then attend the courses and then submit the assignments and balance family life and then study and then balance office life. I think every I went through very crazy time during these 3 years. But then good part is I'll say engineering में मेरा इतना I never had much focus on study. So which I think compensated during this time. I got academic award from Warwick, and then my record was still not broken for the marks and all those things. But then that was fun. That was personal challenge, I would say, and that too in unknown territory. Then of course I did a lot of other courses. ISB's Global CIO certification. Then I am Ahmedabad Strategic IT Management. Also I did longish course with I am Bangalore and then Frederick Alexander University of Germany. That was 4 months course on digital transformation along with Fraunhofer. and so got opportunity to meet many German team also, because it was the cohort was from Germany and India both. So I had opportunity to visit their plants in Germany. They had opportunity to visit our plants in India. So very excellent sharing and then learning from each other. And
Awesome,
every year
awesome.
I keep doing that. And then this is like digital is one side. I keep my both daughters are a psychologist. My wife is psychologist, so I had passion towards psychology also. So did couple of certification in psychology also.
Wow.
Because otherwise I look like stupid in front of them. So better to study.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. Then they can do your ragging without you even understanding that you're being ragged. You got to keep up. No, but I think this is amazing, and there are the two benefits, and what I can also see, with I can connect whatever you just told me about, you continuously getting educated with respect to, how you have done in your CIO stint as well. Like, for example, I can connect that your German study course with your IoT journey and the front offer and all of that, right? So I think somewhere, when you do these, when you continuously keep yourself upgraded, be part of these cohorts or courses, you also develop a network, right? And that
Yes,
network helps you keep up to date, and also helps you, like, do some of the things that you're, right?
that's right.
Ah, awesome, Yogesh, man. Now I know how you are the intellectual that you are. It's actually by doing hard work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So,
not as smart as I could be, but then I'm sure that everything is about hard work, personally.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So now let me bring in some rapid fire questions from the audience. They are actually just questions, but we have moved to the fag end of the chat, so let's make them rapid fire questions. Okay.
Perfect.
So rapid fire questions means answer in a sentence or two. Okay.
Perfect.
So Karan Lekhi asks, SAP is vast and has an amazing user ecosystem over the years. Why haven't we seen any Indian giant or startup catching up against the same? Do you guys think this is still a huge opportunity there?
I'm sorry, I missed that. I lost your voice in between.
You can see the question here.
Yes, yes. Oh, you are talking about competing with SAP. Yeah. I think SAP's strength, honestly, is more than technology. The way they have join the processes and then the flexibility which it brings in the digital, because it's the end of the day there could be still tools, even Indian companies. I know, well, traditionally if you see, even in our earlier days, we used to have these systems which which were very flexible, and then when you move to SAP, you landed up into complex environment. But then it's not about technology, it's about the knowledge about the processes, knowledge about the business, and then integrating that with digital.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, that was a rapid fire question, Yogesh. So
Oh
let
yeah,
me
I remember that later on.
let me add my 2 cents to it. I mean, what I've seen in SAP is that it's not just about implementing a software; it's also about extracting a lot of knowledges from the businesses that you work with, and then creating some sort of a global knowledge base. So I think it's a knowledge mindset that works there.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me bring in another question here. Again, a rapid fire. So maybe like you can answer them as one, two, three. May I know some digital initiatives you have taken, particularly in a connection with SAP? Anything on top of your MMPP, etc., etc.
So you can't do everything in SAP. So this you need surrounding system. So we decided to build the I say low code platform internally on open source, where which will connect with SAP and do the quick workflows. Many times you have that need, agile need in organization. So that one initiative, I think we did good.
Very, very that's a very powerful one. Yes. Okay. So again, another rapid fire. Can you cover challenges on IT security, IoT security? One, two, three.
That cannot be rapid fire question. Everywhere there are challenges, actually, if you ask me.
So
But
maybe
then
stop. top three
But,
challenge.
but then, Sachin, to answer your one question, the biggest to start with challenge is most of the people don't know what is there in their IoT or then the OT part of it. So knowing what is that you have in your OT is the first challenge, I would say.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I will fully endorse it. OT is the black hole of the organization
Yeah.
in terms of security, and that's why you basically you ring fence it with a SCADA network.
Yes.
Okay, so there is some encouragement from Udit Pava saying, Yogesh, you must spend down your experiences so that we can benefit from your learnings. I'm confident it will also be a bestseller.
Thank you, Udit. But then when Jagdish Bhai invited me, I was wondering what do I have to tell.
I
Just like
know.
I think Udit bhai, we all go through a lot of challenges, and each one's all, including you. I know your journey. I know Jagdish bhai's journey. All journeys are interesting, no doubt.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know many times actually, Yogesh, when I was talking to you, I was like, wow, Yogesh, you have so much to share. And you're like, huh, really? But you know what? I mean, we discount ourselves, so that's not unusual. Okay, so here is something from Jagdish Tambi for me. Jagdish Bilwal, I remember we spending time with manufacturing quality heads to understand and solve business challenges with the help of manufacturing solutions. Yes, yes, of
That's
course. I mean, I mean, the real fun is in talking to business guys and then understanding what challenges we can solve, because the starting point is never the technology; it is about what problems can we solve with technology.
exactly, exactly.
So another rapid fire for you. This is a good one. I don't know whether it can be rapid fire, but maybe you can tell one thing that you're doing. Bharat
Yeah.
Forge processes call for huge energy consumption. Could you touch upon your roadmap for sustainability and initiative around the
This
same
is
period?
very valid question for us because we consume almost 400 crore worth energy every year, and that is one of our largest component when it comes to cost. So the first obvious step was connecting all utilities on single platform and creating all those dashboards which give the business very common sense things like when you don't have production, what is your the way energy consumption is there, when it is there, what is the consumption, what is the difference between two similar machine consumption. So the initial quick wins are very fast when you have data visible. And the initial challenge was reducing 10% energy, which we achieved actually. But then again, not only with digital, because you need to have a lot of process change, lot of equipment change on the shop floor. Only thing is, I would say, is this visibility of data enables you to think and make the difference.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. Yes, I think the yeah, you're right. Everything starts with the visibility of data. First, collecting all the data and putting in one place, and then then having many pairs of eyes looking at that data and trying to make sense of it. Okay, so I have some of my own rapid fires, Yogesh bhai. So, what was it like moving from ponds to swimming pools?
first first experience was chlorine. I never had a habit of closing eyes while swimming in normal water, and then first experience of chlorine was horrible. So I was not able to see anything, everything was foggy, and I was shit scared what happened to my eyes.
Yeah, that's like going from natural to artificial. How do you spend your free time?
Free time largely reading, listening to music, but then I would say largely reading.
What's the last book you read?
Oh, last book I read was You Are the Placebo by Joe Dispenza.
I do have that book. I'm yet to read it.
I mean, you must read that. It changed again the perspective of quantum, then bringing this quantum into your normal. You can connect it with digital actually.
No, I like the title. I bought it. In fact, somebody recommended it. But I've got actually a good number of books, which is in my to read list. I also love reading, and I've been actually reading right since my childhood. And you also shared that you have been reading right since your childhood. So that's been a passion. Yes. Okay, so what does CIO Club mean to you?
See, it's all about friends for me, because end of the day it's giving back to community. But then end of, see, it's no doubt CIO Club is for knowledge, but then knowledge, unless you are together, you can't bring that. And then connecting people and sharing that knowledge is all about. And then I think we did fantastic there as a club. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so what was that one major incident that your family didn't come to know about? You didn't tell your family about?
Two incidences. One is from professional life. When I got promotion of VP, I did not told anyone. I think after 3 months after seeing my visiting card, they came to know about it.
Wow.
And second,
That
in
means
childhood,
it
as
was
I
so
was saying,
natural for you. That means it
huh?
was so natural for you.
It was natural, and I don't know. Must be now. If I look it from psychology perspective, I think it could be some another issues also. But then, yeah. But then,
Okay. Yeah. What was the second one?
second one, of course, this swimming thing, which I think I told about that. I learned swimming. No one in the home knew about that.
And I
That's
mean,
childhood में तो many things रहता है. You many things you don't tell at home.
I know. So I can tell you on that note. I can tell you one thing I didn't tell anyone in in my home. So my dad was in PWD. So just next to us, 100 meters away, was a dark bungalow, and there used to be these PWD dumpers and trucks that used to be parked there. Okay? And we used to sometimes play on those. And I remember once I was jumping from one dumper to another dumper, which was like some 4 or 5 feet away, and then I fell down. So I didn't land on the other side, and I fell down. And I was like bruised. Thankfully, nothing was visible, but I was bruised. My entire, like, all my bones were paining. But it was such a silly thing that I did. Okay, because that dumper side is
Yeah,
like
I
so.
know. I know.
Okay,
All my life I have seen that in childhood.
I didn't. I didn't tell even my brothers, because everyone would say like that's so silly. How can you jump from one thin sheet to another thin sheet? And then I think people figured out that something is wrong, and but I didn't tell anyone because it was so silly, so silly. Okay, so Yogesh, my last rapid fire question: how do you keep fit? What sports do you play?
I don't play sports, but then I like walking. I like going into open environment, and then
Okay,
of course typical yoga. Well, not yoga, I would say, but pranayama and meditation. That's the only thing for me to keep
okay,
myself.
okay, okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, right from your childhood, you've been amongst nature, so not illogical that you love going out. Okay, so yeah, now the revenge question. I've been grilling you all this evening on the Saturday evening, so it's your revenge time. So, what's your question for me?
I have very simple question. One, you have been very successful as a in career. So, in CIO life, what is that you did differently than most of the CIOs?
Okay.
And then why do you feel that it was different?
So I think I approached the whole thing from a business point of view. I was like, even many times when I used to review, let's say IT initiatives along with my business leaders, I deliberately used to go and sit on by the side of the business leader just to give a sort of a signal to everybody out there that on which side I am. So
Oh, interesting.
it was always about business. It was always about business processes. But many times, I actually had big fights with the business guys because I was very clear how some of the business processes should be run. And many a times, some of these sometimes people used to think of some shortcuts to be supported by technology, which is where I used to put my foot down and I would say, no, let's fix a sustainable long term business process first before you bring in the technology. And they would say, मैंने अपना बॉस को टारगेट दिया कि मैं 3 महीने में करके दिखाऊं. मैंने कहा I can talk to your boss, but I can't do this. So it has
Fundamentals.
happened that sometimes people have told me, okay, you know what, let's talk to my boss and let's. I understand what you're saying, but let's make our bosses understand. So I've been always on the business side. I've always thought like business, behaved like business. In fact, I want to tell one incident. Once we were in a review and there were some business requirements which I didn't understand because I don't think they were like they were. It was logical to build them. And I asked the leader in front of me, saying that hey, can you explain why do you need this? And he said, these are business requirements. I went and sat next to him and said, okay, I'm part of business. Why don't you now explain? And he was taken aback because nobody from IT had talked like that.
That's good. I treat this as a fundamentals actually. Yeah, agree.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is exactly how you have been, working. So that's where, like, it really resonates. Okay, so thank you, Yogesh bhai. I think that was a very different question from what others have been asking me about my entrepreneurship and clarity chat and all that. So thanks for that different question. Um, Thank you all my audience uh, for attending, engaging, asking your insightful questions, and thank you all of those who are watching the recorded version also. Everyone, please enjoy your family time. I just wanted to tell everyone that there's like such an insightful and full of knowledge discussions in these clarity chats that we have been experimenting with converting these into different formats. So Clarity Chat is now into a newsletter. We are converting Clarity Chats into podcasts. Just taking the audio part out of it and then making it a little more interesting. Compressing it a little bit to make it into a 40 to 50 minute format. So please do look at the LinkedIn announcements that we keep making about it, and subscribe to those podcasts and newsletters. They are real good summaries, which can be consumed in a different format rather than watching a video. And finally, thank you, Yogesh bhai, for joining me on Clarity Chat today. It has been such a pleasure to host you. We are like at 1 hour 22 minutes, but it didn't really feel like even half an hour for me. I mean, it was such an engaging discussion, and thank you everyone for engaging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye,
Thank you.
everyone, and thank you, Yogesh bhai.